Hey guys, welcome to another build tutorial. I'm NetherCloud, and today we're going to be tackling a modular Netherwart farm. We're going to start with the collection system and the little bit of redstone that is necessary to trigger that system, and we'll start out by placing a double chest right here. We're then going to place solid blocks on either side, stacked up too high, and we're going to put upside down stairs so that we'll be able to open our chest still. Then we're going to come around back and we're going to take our hoppers and we're going to run those into the back of the chest on the right side. Now, if you want to expand the storage, you can just go downward, putting more chests and more hoppers facing into the back of them to get as many as you need. Or you could do whatever trick you need to send it off to your central storage, put it into an auto dropper, run a hopper line, however you see fit. For the video, we're going to keep it simple and just run it into this double chest. We're then going to run a hopper line back, starting from this block here, 15 tiles. 1, 15. Once you've got the hopper line in place, we're going to set up our triggering mechanism. We're going to need a button to go on this solid block right here, and you could use a stone button or a blackstone button. I just like the way the blackstone looks on the quartz. This is the only place that I recommend using a half slab for sure, because if you use a full block, when you activate the system, it'll lock this hopper. It doesn't really matter, though, if you don't, because it'll only lock it briefly, so we're just going to put a half slab here for the sake of being super efficient with our collection. We're going to use this to create a platform. Again, these could be solid blocks. I just have half slabs selected at the moment. And this is going to be the most complicated part of the redstone, I swear to you. We're going to put redstone dust here. We're going to put redstone dust here. And then you're going to grab 4 comparators. You're going to put 2 in this direction, and you're going to put 2 in this direction. This is a pulse extender. I do not know who originally created this design. It's a pretty standard circuit, and when you push this button, it just makes the pulse last a little bit longer. You're then going to run this out another few blocks. 1, 2, 3. We're going to put redstone dust on these 2 here. We're going to take a repeater and we're going to stick that on the 3rd block here. And we're going to continue this line down until it's a little bit longer than the hoppers. It goes over by 1. This is going to have redstone dust all the way up and down. And here we do have to use a solid block, and I'll show you why. We're going to set a solid block right here so the redstone dust goes into it. And this is where we're going to have to send the signal upward. We're going to grab our redstone torch, and we're going to put it there. And we're going to do a standard torch tower to get the signal up by placing a solid block, and then coming up and placing another torch, another solid block, another torch, another solid block, another torch, and you guessed it, another solid block. But when you've gotten to this level where you have the bottom one on and this one on with the 2 off and the solid block at top, we can actually switch over and grab our piston. This does not have to be a sticky piston. It can if you would like to, but we only need it to extend because it's going to trigger an observer. Now that we have our triggering system intact, we're going to put the first platform in, and then we'll put that observer I was just talking about in at the end when we get to the top. So you're going to grab your soul sand because that is what Netherwart grows on, and we're going to make a platform next to the hopper line that goes the whole length of the hopper line and then 7 backwards. So I'm going to do that right now. And there you go. That's the first platform. Then we're going to have to grab either glass or a solid block and put a line of those along the backside here. Now we need to place a few strategic light sources because mobs still can spawn on the soul sand even with Netherwart growing on it, so we do have to light it up. So we're going to place a temporary block and a light source at this end. Then we're going to place a temporary block with a light source at this end. We're going to find the middle, which I believe is right here. Yep. And we're going to do that. So once you have those three in place, that's all the light we need to place for now on this bottom layer. We're then going to fill this in with glass and bring that glass up to the next layer to build the next platform. Now that we've built the glass all around, we can start working on putting in our second layer. And technically you don't need these corners here, so let's just get rid of them real quick. The second layer is going to be built with 2 air blocks between the first layer and the second layer. And it's going to be exactly the same size and orientation. So there it is, and we just have to fill it in all the way across. Okay. With the second layer built, I can show you the differences between it and the first layer. Firstly, we're not going to put solid blocks on this side. This is where the water is going to flow downward so that it collects each layer with only one dispenser instead of having to dispense water for each of the individual layers. And on this side, we're going to put a row of lighting blocks. This is where we're going to get the vast majority of the light, and why we only need 3 on the side of the build on each level. So we're going to put a row here, and then just like before, we're going to put 1 on the corner, 1 in the middle, I think that is the middle, and 1 right there. Is that about right? Yes. So with those light blocks, this platform will be mob-proof if you build it even underground. I personally have mine underground. Now we're going to want to come up another block with our glass. And you don't have to build this out of glass, but glass makes a good block to show for tutorials. So you come around. This is as tall as the glass needs to be for the farm, but if you would like to continue it upward to fully encase the farm or use solid blocks to hide the redstone, by all means, go ahead. We're going to place some dispensers now, and we're going to put a block here so that we can place them off of it, as well as place the observer on top of it. So let's grab both our dispenser and our observer, and while we're here, we're going to grab our buckets. We're going to place a row of dispensers going across, facing down. You do have to get the angle right, but once you get the hang of it, it's not too hard. With all the dispensers up, we now have to place an observer and a line of redstone. So let's grab our redstone dust and put that on the hotbar as well. The observer is going to be facing where the piston would go when it fires. So if you get the right angle, you can place it like that, and you're all set. You're going to have to hold shift to place the redstone dust along the top of the dispensers, but it is doable. The reason we made this farm as wide as we did is because redstone goes 15 blocks. There is some trickery you could do to extend it even longer, or whatever you'd like to do to send it if you want to expand the farm, but we're going to go with this because it's easy to set up, and we can then mirror this on the other side, and then mirror it to the back side, which I'll show you guys in a moment. I'm going to put water buckets in these real quick, and then come right back to you. Now that the water buckets are in place, all of our mechanism to harvest should be working. So let's go ahead and give it a test by pressing this button down here. You'll see that the water comes out of the dispensers and is then picked back up. And it continues to flow and stops right there at the edge of that soul sand, meaning that all of the items will be hurled into this hopper line. At this point, you could just call it quits and use this farm. It's fully functional. Everything works. You just have to plant your netherwart on both platforms, wait for it to grow until all of it's at level 3. Well, most of it. Netherwart works on the random ticks, so sometimes you just have a few that refuse to grow. But once most of them are at level 3, you pop that button and then collect everything and replant. You'll get way more back than you put into it each time. And you could just stop right there, but we're going to show off the modular nature of this build style. So what we're going to do now is create an exact copy of this side, both bottom and top, with the lighting on the outside and the exterior glass containing it on this side. And then I'll show you how we don't even have to add any more redstone or dispensers or even hoppers, that just adding a few iron bars doubles the capacity of this farm as it is now. I'm going to do that. I'll be right back. Here we are with the platforms on the left copied directly to the right. As you can see, we haven't added any redstone or changed anything about the farm other than removing the central glass wall and then putting a copy of the top and bottom platforms, as well as the outer collection system where we leave a gap here and then put the glass along the bottom there. We've even installed the lights on the outside to make sure that these platforms are as mob-proof as their twin on the other side. This farm works just as well in this formation as in the original. So when you press the button, the water will come out, go to either side and come down, and then wash in. Now, there is one thing missing, and I left it so that I could do it with you guys so that you can understand how to place everything, and that is the iron bars. And there is a piece of glass I do have to place right here as well. But we're going to break in here to place the iron bars, and we're going to put them all along here, down the center. Now, before I place all of them, let me show you. When the water comes, it will throw them into the iron bars, and they'll drop in on either side. This way, they don't jump across and stay and then despawn because they wind up getting caught on the ledge. So let's put in all the bars real quick, and then we'll show you the next step. With the iron bars in place, this is now complete as half of the farm. That's right, we were building quadrants, so this was the first quadrant, this is the second quadrant, and we are going to build the remaining half by taking this entire design and flipping it over and building it over here. The only thing we're going to have to add as far as redstone is an observer and the dispensers with the line of redstone with water buckets in them. Other than that, we are not going to be adding any redstone. It'll still trigger off of this mechanism even without having to put an additional piston, because we're going to use this gap and use this same piston to trigger the observer that is on the mirror image of this farm. So that's the next step. Let's get there. With that little bit of editing magic, we've succeeded in doubling the capacity of the farm yet again. We've created a whole secondary tray with its own triggered system of dispensers. You can see that the observer that we've put in here for this tray is triggering off of the same piston that the observer from the first tray is triggering off of. So that is the only redstone we've had to add. In order to have our collection system, we also have the iron bars on the bottom, just like on the first side. And we just continued the line of hoppers all the way down. Again, these platforms are 15 by 7, so that the line can go all the way across. And we can come over here to our button, and you'll see that it'll send all of it at once. So we just get close enough to press it. Both trays are going, flowing, and in. So all that's left to do is plant, wait, and harvest. I went ahead and did the planting part, cheated just a little bit on the waiting part by using commands to speed up the game, and now I'm bringing you guys back in for the harvesting part. We just need to go down here and tap our button and experience the fruits of our labor. Isn't that awesome? Everything just gets harvested by the water and then brought around and thrown into the hoppers. You do occasionally wind up with a couple that are left here, but since you're going to get up here and replant anyway, I wouldn't worry about it too much. There'll only be a handful at any given harvest, and the vast majority are going to go in. It's going to take a little bit of time for everything to filter in from the hoppers, but we can go around here and take a look. 57, 31, 58, 41. We've got a bunch of Netherwart. So this takes just shy of 14 stacks to replant, and as you can see, we've got a lot more than that coming in. This is the configuration of the farm that I have built in my world currently, and I'm going to cut to a look at that so you guys can see how I styled it out. so that you can get an idea of the possibilities of how you can integrate this farm into your world. Mine's a little bit on the dark underground side, but you can obviously take it in any direction you want with whatever build palette you so choose. And you would think that we could end the video right there, but wait, there's more. You say this farm is doing a great job at producing netherwart for you, but you need even more. Well, I'm going to show you how you can continue stacking these on top of each other so that you can make this farm go vertical. In theory, you could dig a hole all the way to bedrock and then build from the bottom of the world all the way to the top of the world for an absolutely obscene netherwart farm. I'm not going to do that, but you can if you want to. Here's how. First, we're going to have to extend the torch tower up. And because of the way this is set up, we can't just put a torch on top. It'll extend the piston like that. The reason there was a piece of string in there is it's a helpful little way to reset those if you need to, which we're going to when we do this, possibly. So, since we can't put a torch on top, we can put one on back and bring the torch tower up. That's going to give us this, where we bring this up. Now, at this point, we've got a tower that's kind of inverted, so when we get to the top, it's going to be just a little bit different than when we first got up to this piston. Let me look at this for just a second. Yep, we need to come up another on torch and another solid block. So we come up here, there, then one more block on top. And on this one, we put a torch on the side. And then off of that, we can put a piston directly. And that will give us the layers for our next farm. Now, if you did want to continue going up from there, you would then alternate back to the original design where you start with a solid block and go to a redstone torch. And by alternating these patterns up, you can continue this vertically forever and trigger everything off that same one button. Once you have the layers built with the soul sand, the light, the dispensers, and the triggering mechanism that's been extended upwards, that is a direct copy of the original instructions, you're going to need a way to get it down. In order to give you guys a reference of where to start and a way to get it down, we're going to start by putting a temporary block on top of the observers. The hopper line that would line up with the hopper lines that are at the bottom that collect everything from these two layers will start here and go back 15 right over top of the redstone. Don't worry about the redstone locking the hoppers. It shouldn't when it's in this configuration, and even if it did, it would be very momentary, so it wouldn't affect collection all that much. There are going to be two ways for us to get the netherwart from the top platforms down to the bottom platforms. It's either going to be with hoppers or with an auto dropper system. In order to do it with hoppers, we're going to have to come out by 2 and then come up all the way to the top. Once you're at this level, you can break this temporary block and run the hopper line into that tower. This line is going to be the collection line, and the soul sand is going to start at this level, just in case you guys were wondering where the first level is going to be. This line runs all the way back again. Now, you're going to want to mirror your hoppers on the other side to get the second wing of the upper tier. So you just bring this around, same thing, and then go out 15 and build up. This can go up all the way, but in case you guys don't want this tower of hoppers, we're going to give you another option. We can break all these out. Once you have this basic configuration set up, you're going to want to run a line of glass or solid blocks or whatever you choose up to contain all of the items that are going to be flowing from the dropper above. Once you've got a tube set up for the collection circuit to filter into, you're going to want to put a dropper. We'll break these to get in. Make sure it's a dropper, not a dispenser this time. because we want the items to just drop out. We're going to place that right up against our hopper so that it's facing downwards. And now we've got a collection system filtering into a dropper. With the dropper in place, we're going to come down here and replace the blocks that we broke. And then we're going to come out another 3. We're also going to come over to this side and fill this in. We're going to go to our inventory and grab a target block and put that next to the dropper. This is going to allow us to make an auto dropper circuit that only needs one side of the dropper. A bonus to this is that when it's pulsing, it won't lock the hopper. Since it's only pulsing this block, which is then pulsing this, and not powering the hoppers directly or on the sides. We're going to need redstone dust here, and then one more here. This circuit is now complete, and all you have to do is fill in all of the platforms for the levels, including the dispenser circuit for the water buckets. If you want to continue this up an additional level with this same auto dropper circuit design, you just put a hopper there and then build up the same tunnel and then put another auto dropper circuit on the one above. That just about covers it. I hope that was clear enough, and if anybody has any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. If there is anything I didn't go over properly, I'll be happy to put up supplemental videos or screenshots so that I cover everything that you guys need to know to make this work for you in your worlds. If you guys have made it this far, please hit that like and subscribe button. It helps me out a lot, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time. You guys take it easy.